Hi, this is Esty HAIM.
Hi, I'm Alana HAIM.
And you're listening to FADER Uncovered podcast with our good friend, Mark Ronson.
God, Mark, you're such a diva making us wait.
Such a dude.
I cannot. This is really very unprofessional of me, and I'm sorry. I'm Mark Ronson, and this is the FADER Uncovered podcast. In this interview series, I'll be speaking with some of the most influential and groundbreaking musicians in the world, from genre-defining stars to avant-garde trailblazers, about their lives and careers. Each episode will be rooted in these musicians' iconic FADER cover stories, an institution that over the past 2 decades has told artists stories like no other. The podcast is a chance for us to talk about the past, present, and future, reflecting on their breakthroughs, diving into their lives when their covers hit shelves, and discussing what the future might hold now. And it's an opportunity for me to speak to some of the artists I most admire. This is the FADER Uncovered with Mark Ronson. Today we're doing a special 2-part episode with my faves, HAIM. Because once we got started, there really was no way to put a cap on the deep, personal, and hilarious chat that ensued. I kind of had a feeling it might go this way, but it's even better than how it played in my head. HAIM graced the cover of FADER 86 in the summer of 2013, right before they dropped their wonderful debut album, Days Are Gone. They had already set the indie world alight with their debut single, Forever, and its follow-up, Falling, had people literally falling all over themselves to anoint them the next saviors of rock and roll. And deservedly so. They wrote great songs, they rocked live, they had a very unique sound, part Stevie Nicks, Tom Petty, part Destiny's Child. And they were so hilarious and witty in their interviews, you always wanted to know more about them. Since then, they've gone from strength to strength, with their most recent album, Women in Music Part 3, being one of the most critically acclaimed albums of the past year, entering the UK chart at number 1, and being nominated for Album of the Year at this year's Grammys. The very first time we met was because I was summoned by the girls to meet in the lobby of a London hotel, around the time of this article. I wasn't quite sure why actually, but I thought they were cool and maybe they wanted to work with me. They did not. And really, me being a Jew, these 3 Hebe sisters from the Valley who rocked out and seemed this fun, well, what else was I going to do on a Wednesday afternoon in North London? What began as a slightly awkward encounter that day has blossomed into a real friendship. We spent quite a bit of time in the studio together, and although we always have probably a little too much fun to actually finish a song together, we do have a tribute to Howard Stern and a decent cover of Ghostbusters on a hard drive somewhere. Perhaps, by the end of this interview, I can convince them to let me put both on SoundCloud. Baruch Hashem. Like during the lockdown, was there a time when you were all separated?
Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah,
Awful.
I mean, in the very beginning of the pandemic, I think we went to New York to play Jimmy Fallon, your favorite person. We went to go play the show, and I think we played it on like March 8th.
Okay.
And that was like the beginnings of like the rumblings of something was going to happen, but no one was really like, we're going into lockdown. And then we were on this deli tour to launch our record. We were like, we want to go across the country and play delis because why not?
Well, is it
Obviously.
an acknowledgement of the Cantors, the kind of origins?
Well,
That was where our first show was.
Our first show was at Cantors, and you DJ'd a party of ours that was at Cantors.
That was
I think
where
it was
that
like an
was.
impromptu DJ
Yes,
set.
that was at Canners.
There's so many delis across the country, and we wanted to go to Australia, and we wanted to do it in England. I'm like, God, there's so many delis. Like, we should just play all of them. And we were on the deli tour, and we had gone to 2 delis. We had gone to Sarge's in New York. And then we did Call Your Mother Deli in DC. In DC, I think it was like March 13th.
Yeah.
And that was like the day that the NBA shut down.
Yeah.
But also Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks got it that day. And I feel like that's when everyone
We were like-
also was like, wait a minute, America's dad has coronavirus. We all need to like figure out our lives. Isn't that what people call him? America's
Yeah,
dad?
he's
He is
America's dad.
I
He
think
is
that's
America's
what
dad.
they
He
call
is
him.
America's
Yeah.
dad.
He's also Chet Hanks' dad.
Yes. So like that night we were like, oh, we have to get home, because at that point we were like, I don't even know if they're gonna like let us home. Like I was like, I don't even know what this means. Like it felt like chaos time, and we were like, we got to get home.
Yeah.
And since we were coming from New York, that was like the epicenter at that point. And we were like, oh God, like we really have to quarantine. The CDC, I think, was saying like, you got to quarantine for like 2 weeks. And we were like, why don't we just make it more Jewish and quarantine for 3 months?
Okay.
Yeah, which is what we did.
Because we were so neurotic about it. Like we literally didn't see each other for like 3 months.
Also, you didn't mention that March 14th was my birthday.
We came back to LA on Essie's birthday. That was like the first time we've ever
The
not been
saddest
together for a birthday.
I made myself a sugar-free cupcake in my house, and
with tears as frosting.
It was really sad. I like ordered myself balloons from the dollar store, and that was it. That was my birthday.
I was at your 30th birthday, and that was wild.
Did you DJ'd that too?
All
impromptu DJ sets. I don't think we've ever gotten the guts to actually ask you, like, will you please DJ our parties?
When you get there, we're like,
please just get on the decks.
Just like hop on the decks.
I think the Cantors one you asked me 3 hours before, so that would count as an actual booking.
Does it?
Wait.
Because I probably took like 4 shots before asking you.
That was 2 p.m, so that's baller. I want to ask you, there's something that you just said that I really just have to ask before. There's a deli in New York called Sarge's. I feel terrible that there's like a Jewish deli that I've never heard of in New York City.
No,
in Midtown.
Okay, well, actually, this is like a very funny story about how we got to Sarge's. So for Essie's 13th, when did you go to SNL?
No, that was for my graduation present when I was 18.
Essie's graduation present was to go. We could only get 1 ticket to SNL.
Okay.
Figured out through our doctor, literally, who knew Robert Smigel. Like, that's how we got to SNL.
Yeah.
So, like, we all went. We stayed in Midtown because there was like a deal. Like, my parents are the funniest travelers. Like, they're travelers. They're not vacationers. Like, they're all about getting like a hotel room with a kitchen
so that
we can make our own meals.
Yeah.
Like, they're not about like, we're going to go have a nice dinner in New York. Like, arguably one of the best places to get dinner. They were like, no, we don't want that. We want to go to the market.
We're going to go to the bodega and get eggs
we'll make
eggs.
everything in-house. Like, we'll save money that way. And when they find their place, like that's their place.
Okay.
And I think around the corner from our hotel that we stayed in Midtown.
We were staying at like the Hojo in Midtown.
Yeah, like some Embassy Suites or something. And they like found this deli and like no one was in there. And I think they like took that as like, oh, this is going to be like our spot.
And that's Sarge's.
And so every time we went back to New York, like that was basically the only deli that I knew was Sarge's.
We also only really knew Midtown.
Yeah, we only really knew Midtown. I had never like branched out and tried to figure out like where to go in New York.
I don't think we went to the Lower East Side or like the Village until we were on tour.
Well, I went to New York the first time for real and I had a full-blown panic attack because I was just like so caught off guard by the vibe of New York was when we played CMJ. So like I quit my job at Crossroads Trading Company. I was working at a thrift store.
I quit my job at the counter slanging burgers. I was a waitress.
And like we had to quit because we like decided that we were going to go to New York for CMJ, which is like this week long. I'm sure you know about it. It's like the week long like South by Southwest in New York.
I played the old version of it called the New Music Seminar that was like 25 years ago. Right.
That was like 2008, 2009.
I mean, at least at my job at Crossroads Trading Company on Ventura Boulevard, they were like, you can't leave for a week. That's crazy. So I had to like quit. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to make money? And I remember we only had enough money to get 1 hotel room for us and our whole band at the Thompson LES because it had like
it's something else now.
Our friend was like doing an activation there that was like, I can get you a room. We were like, one room. And we were like,
take it.
I'm down. There was like maybe... It was
me, you, Danielle.
6 people in one room. It was like our band, and then all of a sudden Danielle's friend was like, I'm going to stay too. And I was like, we literally have no room. There's 2 beds here.
Yeah.
But sure, come party. Like, we'll all stay in one room. And because we had never really played outside of LA. And I don't think mom and dad were there.
No.
We like went by ourselves, which I think I was
But when you look
20.
back on it, like we didn't go without our parents.
I know. I was like,
I was
of
like
course.
26 years old.
I know, because I was like just in Rockenheim mode of my parents need to be with me always. We were staying in the Lower East Side and we had to go to Brooklyn. This was before phones with navigation.
Mm-hmm.
It was full flip phone mode. First of all, we had all of our gear. We had a drum set. We had 2 guitars, a bass,
amps.
We had our whole stage set up and we had to fit it in a cab.
One taxi
Because we could only afford one.
Yeah.
Like one of those like van ones.
Yeah.
getting one of those already. Like, we tried like different tactics. First, we had all of our gear on the street.
And then they just kept passing us.
We were like, taxi. They were like, hell no, we're not fucking stopping for you. Then we like hid our
everything.
gear and like threw Esty out there being like, I don't know, like show your leg or something. Like, I don't know how to get a cab.
It was literally like the 50s.
We finally got a cab. Esty like sat in the cab and was like, this is our cab. And then we just loaded everything into this one cab. And then we finally all scrunched in this cab. And then he's like, okay, already so annoyed, obviously. And he was like, where are we going? We were like, can you take us to Brooklyn? And he was like, I don't know how to get there. Immediately, I have a panic attack because I'm like, okay, we got to get to this showcase in Brooklyn.
What was the venue? Do you remember?
Was it Brooklyn Bowl?
A Brooklyn Bowl?
I don't remember where.
Okay.
God, I wish I remember. I wish I had a diary that like had it all. But I remember it was in Brooklyn.
It might have been Union.
It might have been
either Union or you know what? No, it was an art gallery.
Oh yeah, it was an art gallery. It like wasn't even a venue.
Okay.
And so we're like in the cab and we're like, please take us to Brooklyn, kind sir. And he was like, I don't know how to get there. You need to tell me how to get there. And I literally, like, first of all, like...
Also, isn't that not legal?
Well, this was how many years ago?
This is before Brooklyn
ago.
was a little more gentrified and cab drivers really had a hard time. Now, you rarely saw yellow cabs in Brooklyn back then. So, yeah, it's not legal. It's not fair. It's not right.
We just wanted to play our show.
So Danielle and Esty,
what year? Like 2011 or 10?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it was 2011.
Okay.
And so, like, Esty and Danielle took the reins on the whole situation, like, somehow figured out how to get us to Brooklyn, how to get us to this art gallery. And I'm, like, silently having a panic attack because I'm like, I feel like the pressure of the world is on my shoulders. I'm like, we got to get to this thing. I don't know how to get there. Are we going to be lost? Like, can we even afford a cab if we get lost? Like,
We've never been to Brooklyn.
How are we going to spend, like, how are we going to pay for this cab? Like, it might just go around in circles and, like, we might not ever find this gallery and then we have to spend all this money. We have all this gear. We're going to be fucked.
Yeah.
And we finally get to the gallery. And I literally remember like vividly opening the door and just bursting into tears. I just burst into tears and I was like, I can't do it, guys. I can't. No, I was like, I literally was like, I can't do it.
I was like, existential crisis.
I was like, what they say about New York and Californians, like, it's true. Like, I'm too faint of the heart for this. Like, I can't deal with this. Like, no one's helping us. Like, I'm going to have a panic attack. And
how old were you then? How old were you in 2011?
I think I was 19 or 20.
Okay.
No, you were 19.
No, I think I was 19. And again, the only time I had been to New York was with my parents. And it was in Midtown. Like, I had no idea.
I don't think I'd been to Brooklyn either.
No, that was the first time I'd ever gone to Brooklyn.
We'd never been to Brooklyn. We'd barely been to the Lower East Side.
But I was like, I can't handle this. I can't do it. And like, it's taken me years because every time I go to New York, I'm just like, so, I mean, I hate even saying this because it's such an eye roll, but like coming from LA, when you're like lost, you can ask someone and they'll be fine. And then in New York, they were like, fuck you, get the fuck away from me. And I was like, I'm too nice for New York. I'm too nice.
I feel like it's just wherever you grew up because I would feel much more comfortable asking someone in New York yes, there is like the stereotype of like, yeah, you know what, get bent. But I know what you mean though. And it is stressful. How was the show that night? Do you remember? Did you rock the borough of Brooklyn?
It was great.
It was great. I mean, all those festivals that we played, I think Forever had just come out like freshly.
No, Forever hadn't come out yet.
I don't even know how we did it. But
no, our EP wasn't even out yet because our EP came out in 2012 and CMJ was like 6 months before that. But we had like been playing live as a band since 2007. At the time, we were just like, we will play any parking lot. We'll play wherever. So like, I think we played like 8 shows in that like 5-day period.
Yeah. And it was a blast.
And it was so much fun.
After that initial Brooklyn meltdown, then I was like, I fucking love New York. It broke me.
Yeah.
It broke me. And then it built me back up. Now I'm a better person. I'm stronger.
It's terrifying, New York, in that way, especially in a cab. Like, I live in New York and I've been stressed the fuck out trying to get to a gig in time in Brooklyn in some like weird warehouse where I don't know what it is. So I can fully empathize.
But then you get like the 3 Jewish yentas in the car that are like, like having existential crises and spiraling silently.
There's always at least 3 Jewish yentas in my head at any time anyway, so I fully...
Exactly. You know
Do
how
they
I
look
feel.
like us?
I wish.
Are we just in your head like...
Sorry, I feel like I took over your podcast for
No, this is fucking what we want. This is high-end shit. I do want to talk about the SNL because I was reading that article from May 2013 when you guys were on the cover of the Fader. It is really sweet because you say that thing. You're like, I used to want to be in the cast of SNL. Now I just want to play on SNL. And then I had no idea that you went and that was your dream to go. Do you even remember who was on that time when you went for your 18th birthday, for your graduation present?
I remember.
Do you remember who was?
I don't remember.
You got to remember now.
I don't remember.
Really? I remember the very first time I went to SNL, it was Ted Danson and Luther Vandross. I was 13 and I loved SNL so much.
A show.
Yeah, and I was such a huge fan that is one of my most indelibly impressed memories from thinking. But because you played SNL on the first album and you probably played on every album now since, right?
Other than this, we played twice. I mean, we really wanted to play.
If SNL's listening,
I know, knock SNL. We really want to play.
We want to play again.
We played twice, and I remember the first time a lot more. I feel like it's your first time. Of course, you remember your first time playing SNL, but I vividly remember on the SNL stage, there's exposed brick on the stage, and I remember I was playing. Did we play "Don't Save Me" on our first one? I don't remember which song.
We played "The Wire."
And "Don't Save Me." I faced this brick wall, and I remember this show happening, and I remember looking at this specific brick and being like, do not fuck up, focus on this brick.
Right.
When we played SNL the first time, we showed up and we had all of our gear, we were all great, and they were like, okay, where are your in-ears? And we were like,
what?
Excuse me?
Yeah.
We're like, what? In ears? What are in ears? What is that? And they were like, oh, you don't have in-ears? And we were like, no, we play with
wedges.
With
monitors.
Monitors.
Yeah.
And they were like, they literally verbatim were like, we haven't had a band play with monitors since the 90s.
Yeah.
Since the 90s.
And there was this whole chaos because they were like, it's going to feed back. They were like, we literally haven't used wedges in years.
Yeah, we should just explain for anyone listening who might not know that in-ears are a special kind of high-end, whenever you see Justin Timberlake in a concert, it looks like he's wearing iPods. Those are the special things that get the monitoring that you hear, so you have a great mix in your ear. But it didn't start off that way. It used to be people would fucking rock out with these big speakers at the front of the stage, and that's how you heard everything.
Oh, yeah.
That's
why I have 50% hearing loss is because my wedges were so loud. Now, because of my hearing loss, I have to use in-ears. But again, chaos. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I feel like I
just live a high stress situation.
I live up to my
I
very much live up to my Judaism. I go from I'm the happiest person of all time, and then immediately switch to spiral. I'm gonna have a panic attack. I'm in the hole. I can't live. Whenever someone asks us how is it playing SNL, the first thing that comes into my mind is this brick, this one red exposed brick. And I still haven't watched our SNL performance because I'm so nervous to watch it.
I watched it. I really remember clearly watching it when it was happening. Not to make this about myself, but playing on SNL was bigger than we got to play at the Super Bowl with Coldplay, with Bruno. SNL just has this thing. I remembered taping the 40th anniversary of SNL, on my VCR, in my room when I was 13 anyway. So there's something just when you're in there and you're seeing the sets moving and how it works with the sketches. It's like seeing the inside of of a magic box or something.
I will say this. I don't remember who hosted, but I do remember the feeling of being there. I was on the floor when I went, and Jimmy Fallon was doing Weekend Update. Again, not to make this about Jimmy. Jimmy Fallon is going to think I'm the biggest creep after I tell him this. You know how at the end of Weekend Update, he would throw the pencil?
Yes.
When I say I dove like I was at a wedding and the girl and the wife was throwing a bouquet, I dove head first to get that pencil.
Yeah.
Didn't no one else you thought that people were gonna go for it?
Yeah, I was the only one.
No one else did. It wasn't.
No one else did. I was just. It was like hungry hippos. I was searching for it, and then I framed it.
It's true.
With my ticket stuff, they gave me a pass or whatever.
That's amazing.
And it's in my room still. But I do remember the feeling of being there at 18 and just being again, like I said in the article, I wanted to be Gilda Radner. That was my dream.
Yeah.
But if I can't be Gilda Radner, I would love to just play on SNL. And I remember sitting there and just trying to breathe in the air and soak it up and remember what this feels like being in here. And it was such an honor to be on the show, not once, but twice.
I've never seen SD ball more. The first time we played SNL, we were we want to be in a sketch. it wasn't looking good because also at that point, like I feel like they only put like the really cool people in sketches.
If you were just point, so famous, you're like a cultural thing.
People will notice you and like we were not. I mean, I feel like we're still not like that. I feel like we're like very much
absolutely not
in the background. But when we went for like dress rehearsal, like I think we literally told everyone, like we like introduced ourselves to everyone because I was like, you guys are like my celebrities. Like if you work at SNL, like you are my celebrity. Like Lorne Michaels is literally my god.
Yeah.
When I met him, I literally had a full-blown meltdown panic attack, which is, I feel like, the very motto of this podcast.
It's the running thread. It's the running thread.
The running thread of this podcast.
Jesus, the neuroses in this family,
it's honestly a miracle. I mean, it's crazy that I'm single. Like, I can't even imagine why I'm single because I'm having like mental breakdowns every 5 seconds. But it's okay. I'm fine. I swear. Okay. I need.
We're just describing peak life moments, so it's okay. You're not talking about going to the store or just hailing a cab in New York City. Okay, you are hailing a cab in New York City and having a panic attack.
Exactly.
Meeting Lorne is a scary thing, and Lorne Michaels has like a big presence. He's responsible for so much shit that we love, and you're never more nervous than when you're meeting one of your heroes because you're just so freaked out of saying the wrong thing.
And I remember I introduced myself to like the camera operators, all the people that were like working there. And literally, I didn't even care who they were. I was like, hi, my name's Alana. I would love to be in a sketch. Hi, my name's Alana. Like, Esty would do the same thing. Like, we literally put it in the minds of everyone. Like, we don't even care if we're like walking in the background. Like, if I'm in a sketch and I can tell my grandchildren that I was in a sketch on SNL, like, my life will be.
Yeah.
And it works.
It worked.
Yeah.
We got a call 24 hours or. Because they do a break on Fridays. So on Thursday, they called us. I think it was like 11 o'clock at night. And Esty was like, I don't think we're going to get a sketch. She was like, I'm just going to go for a walk. Like, I remember she was like super down. She was like, this was my dream. So I get a call and it's like, what are you guys doing right now? And we were like, I was like, nothing. I was like, I'm nothing. And they're like, okay, SNL wants you to be in a sketch. I like dropped my phone and I like ran after Esty. She was like getting in the elevator and I was like, we're gonna be in a sketch. And she was like, no, burst into tears.
Again, burst into tears.
And we got to be in this sketch with
Josh Hutcherson.
We were doing like a play on Jesse's Girl.
Yeah. No, it wasn't Jesse's Girl. It was the outfield.
Not Jesse's Girl.
Oh, Your Love?
Jesse's on a vacation far away.
That's the first song I ever played in a band at the 4th grade talent show.
Stop.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh,
did you sing?
No, I played a guitar or bass or something.
You played guitar?
My first ever band. But so you guys were in the sketch. Oh, I remember Josh Hutcherson from Hunger Games. He was hosting that.
He was our host.
I totally remember.
And it was like
guitar.
Yeah. No, I think I played guitar. I remember we were like in all 80s garb.
Dope.
We got to do like the whole thing where it was like quick change. Like we played our first song and they were like, quick change, we're going to turn you super 80s.
Fuck yeah.
There's like all these people like throwing things on me and I was like, this is my dream. Touch me all over. Like I'm down. And then it was like, go do the sketch. And then it was like, change back into your clothes. Go do your second song. Like I was like, walking on air.
Yeah.
Nothing is better than this. Like, this is the coolest fucking thing I'm ever going to do.
It is the coolest.
Anyway, SNL, we love you.
We love you.
We love
Thank you, Lorne, for letting us play twice.
From kosher delis and parking lots to SNL with a good number of panic attacks in between. Being in a band can be like a roller coaster ride, especially if you're in the band which is supposed to save rock and roll and you might have the goods to do it. If you haven't experienced what that's like, and most of us never will, let's be honest, HAIM really do an amazing job of unlocking a door to what it's like on the inside. You'll get lost, there will be tears, and some days will be punctuated by sheer euphoria, and there will be stories that you'll tell for the rest of your life. One other thing that I read in that article that I had no idea of was the whole Valley Girls thing. I never knew that there was like a sort of Disney-ish all-girl rock band like in the Valley that you had played in before.
Oy vey, Mark. Oy vey.
Alana wasn't part of it.
Does everybody know this story if you had to tell it 100 times? Because I didn't know about that.
I mean, I wasn't a part of it. I think it was, so we had a band with our parents called HAIM, which I know you know.
Of course I know.
That started when I was 4. Other than like our weird random like middle school bands that would last like 14 hours, we would only play music with our parents, which is so lame. Like, incredibly lame. Like, we were in a full-blown Partridge Family.
Amazing, Alana.
I know. It was amazing. I mean, we only played covers. We only played, like, country fairs and, like, charity events.
Because also your parents were, like, really accomplished musicians. Like, your dad's a great drummer. It wasn't like they were living out their dreams.
No, my dad... my dad is an incredible drummer.
My dad is an insane drummer. My mom, her claim to fame, not claim to fame, but, like, one of the most amazing things that she did was she won the Gong Show in the 70s.
Holy crap.
Did we ever tell you about that?
No.
So my mom was playing a coffee shop.
Your mom is a babe, by the way. I mean, we can say that.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
okay.
you.
Isn't she?
I look like her.
Yeah.
You
but
look
younger.
like I look like a. I
You're
got
mom
like
and
the
dad.
worst parts
No,
of
you
mom and
didn't.
dad.
Danielle is my dad. Estie's a mix, and I'm fully my mom. Like I literally look like an Ashkenazi Jew through and through.
Right.
My mom was playing this coffee shop when she was, I think, 20 or 21, like very young, and there was like a scout there that was like, you could go on the Gong Show and like win prizes. And my mom was like, are you kidding? Like I can do this on the Gong Show and like meet Chuck Barris. Like this is insane. So she went on and she didn't get gonged. She was like a serious act, but it was at the very end of the Gong Show, they have it between two people. And the first time she went on, she lost to a father-son pop and lock crew.
Okay.
They had like a dance routine. And my mom lost and she was gutted. Like she was so gutted.
She still can't watch Breaking 2, the movie. She has a aversion to breakdancing.
But months later, they were like, Chuck loves you.
Like, Chucky
loves
loves
you. I was like,
you.
okay, Mom, you were that much of a babe.
But
like,
also, when Chuck introduced my mom
my God.
the first time, we have the VHS of this. My mother will not let us put it on the internet.
Okay.
I want to put it on the internet so badly.
I want to put it on the internet so badly, but it's literally in a safe in our parents' house because she knows that I will convert it.
This will never be digitized, this footage.
No, she's like, this will never be digitized.
Okay.
So Chucky gets on the camera and he's like, oh,
Donna Rose,
do I have a treat for the audience? Can I tell you? You don't even know what's about to happen. Donna Rose with her guitar and a 1 and a 2.
like loved my mom.
And what was the number? What did she play?
So she sang. First of all, my mom was wearing like a Diane von Furstenberg crushed velvet blue jumpsuit. V-neck with a collar. I mean, this was like 75.
Yeah, when I was born.
Good year. And my mom was playing her Guild steel string
that she had gotten for her 16th
She got for her
birthday.
16th birthday. And she sang this Bonnie Raitt song that was never like recorded. She only did live, and it was called The Blender Blues. And my mom had recorded it because my mom is
the biggest Bonnie Raitt fan.
Biggest Bonnie Raitt fan.
Wow.
So whenever Bonnie Raitt would come to Philly, my mom would always go to the show, and she brought her tape recorder there.
Yeah.
And recorded this song called The Blender Blues. And it's this tongue-in-cheek, like, let me be your blender, baby. Don't you know I can whip, chop, and puree? It's like very like...
I'm like, okay, Mom.
I was like,
all right, Mom.
Okay, Mom.
All right, Mom.
I'm going to have nightmares about this later. So she didn't win the first time, but then the scout came back and was like, listen, do you want to be on it again? Do exactly what you did. Wear the exact same thing. Just do it exactly how you did it before, like 6 months later. And then she did it, and then that time she won.
Which was a big deal.
And we have the gong still. It says Donna Rose. And it's like on a pedestal in my parents' house, surrounded by candles. It's like a shrine.
Also, I've just discovered Bonnie Raitt, which is like feels ridiculous because I only thought she was this really like heralded
like
blues guitarist that could hang with everybody. I knew Nick of Time, but I just discovered all the 70s albums, and they're as good as anything of that era. It's like her voice, like Angel of the Morning. Is that what it's called? Send Me an Angel in the Morning. All of those records, they're so soulful. And I thought she was like from the South, and she's just from like Bakersfield or something, right? She's from California. She's one of the most soulful, incredible singer, arranger, guitar players ever.
That voice. For us growing up, it was like the holy trifecta was Shaka Khan, Joni Mitchell, Bonnie Raitt.
Yeah.
That was like
those were like my mom's, like
those
the holy trinity.
I mean, I could spend the rest of my life, if I had to, I could probably be okay just listening to the catalog of those three people. It's kind of insane.
Right?
Yeah. One of her first cars that she got in probably late 90s had the CD changer that was in the trunk. Remember like those ones like you had to like go out and feed the CD?
Yeah, they came out. I was like
contraption.
I was in my 30s. Like it wasn't that long ago for me. Yeah, a Blaupunkt. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd load up the car before the road trip.
I mean, again, like CDs were a weird thing.
Like, new thing for my
we were all about like tape cassettes. All of our cars before them were like tapes. So like we had like a crazy tape selection. My mom was like, CDs, this is not going to catch on.
Yeah.
And she had gotten maybe through one of her friends like this Miles Viles Joni Mitchell CD. And I think probably the person at the dealership like showed her how to use the like CD changer with this CD, and then she completely forgot and didn't know how to like change it or like take it out of the car. Like she was like, I don't know, just keep it in there. So like literally every time we turned on the car, just that record would play, and that was the only one that was in my mom's car. So like that was basically our childhood, was just like listening to that Joni Mitchell live album.
Well, and then that specific one got super duper scratched, and then our mom made us go to Second Spin in the Valley, and we got it again.
Okay.
But I guess we had like never really seen the cover or anything, but I remember being like so jazzed about the cover art, and Joni like drew all of her covers and she painted all that stuff. I remember just thinking that my mom was Joni Mitchell because
because she knew all the words and the runs. And I was 4 or 5 when this was happening.
Yeah.
The era of like the scratched CD is such a specific time in my life. Like I remember there was one skip on Peaches and Cream 112 or something. Yeah. That was Peaches and Cream. Like, but I like memorized.
You remember where the skip was?
Where the skip was?
Yeah. I have that with like records. I remember like from DJing so long on vinyl exactly where the scratch would be or something. I'd anticipate and just see like how much the dance floor kind of flinched or not. I'd just always be ready. Was that a diversion from talking about Valley Girls? Because if so, it was nearly successful. But there's no bad sidetrack in a HAIM interview, I feel, anyway.
No. I'm totally happy to fucking talk about it, of course. Especially with you, Mark. Come on. So at that point, we had only played with our parents. And SC never really wanted to play with like girls their own age. And that wasn't really like available to us. Like we didn't really know any other girls that played instruments in our neighborhood. So like we were playing this street fair called the Sherman Oaks Street Fair. If anyone is from the Valley listening, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the biggest event of the Valley. Like
they shut down Ventura Boulevard.
The who's who of the Valley go and have a good time in front of the Party City on Ventura Boulevard. And we were playing this show, and these two people came up to us and were like, oh, we have this band of girls. We're looking for musicians. Like, do you want to join this band? I think to Essie and Daniela was like, fuck yeah, like I want to play music with girls. Like that sounds so much fun.
I was like 16, by the way.
Yeah,
which means
Danielle was 13 or 14.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the kind of thing that was the typical like pitched you one thing and then it became completely the other thing of this is awful and pre-written songs. It was weird, just not what we wanted to do. And very quickly realized that this is not the right move. And SNDL got out of it very quickly. But it's really funny because you can like see on the internet there's like really funny photos. But
how bad was it? Was it like a teen band or like Disney but with instruments? It's just shitty.
It wasn't like any conglomerate of like Disney or Nickelodeon. It wasn't like that. It was literally just these two people that were trying to put together a band.
Yeah.
And it was like, wait, can we have a say in anything? And it was like, no.
Yeah.
And then so Danielle and I were like, okay, we're getting out of this.
And then Danielle's senior year of high school is when we started HAIM. And then we just like kept going. Danielle, her senior year was like, I'm not going to college. I remember this summer of, she had just graduated high school. We kind of all got together and we were like, we love playing music together, obviously with mom and dad. Like we love playing music. We love playing our instruments. And Danielle was like, well, I'm now a free agent. I'm like, it's time for me to like get a job and like do things. And she was like, why don't we just try writing songs?
And you're like, and I'm 12, so I'm ready.
And I'm 4. I had a rattle and I was like, yay, I can play maraca. No, I was going into sophomore year of high school.
You were literally 15 years old.
I was like 15 years old. And Danielle's like, why don't we try writing songs? And like that whole summer, we just sat down. Danielle's literally calling me right now.
It's like, I heard you're telling the fucking story.
Yeah, we're spilling the tea about
But
Danielle.
the whole summer, we tried to write a song every day. And mind you, a lot of the songs were terrible, awful, like not good songs. As any young songwriter is, we weren't coming out as Joni Mitchell. No. We were coming out as just 3 Yentas in the Valley. And we played a show at the very end of the summer that was like everyone was leaving to go to college, and we had gotten a gig at this clown museum.
I feel like we might have talked about this in the article.
I think probably did actually, because that was
we
like
played at a clown
museum.
Played
at a clown museum, and everyone showed up. Like it was like this whole like this like big farewell. Like, okay, we're all going to college. Like, let's all go to the HAIM show. And we were like, damn, this is sick. We're like, what the fuck? Like, we're playing like so many fucking people. Like, we're rock stars. Like, this is incredible.
I think it was like 80
and
people.
Then, I mean, it felt like there were 40,000 people there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, what is going on? And then we like got a gig like maybe a month later at this like bar, and literally no one showed up, and all of our friends had gone to college. We were like, we played to the bouncer, my parents, and I think Danielle's boyfriend at the time that was like over 21. And we were like, okay, well, that was short-lived. Fuck. And so that's kind of like what set us off.
Harsh tokes.
That was 2010?
That was
2007.
Like 2007.
Oh, that's 2007, so it's early before.
Yeah.
I felt like with you, when I met you like early on, or even when I saw pictures before, nobody really knew how old you were. You were almost like the bass player in Kings of Leon when they started off. You're like, is he 12? Is he 16? Do they lie just so he can play in more venues? Like, it was such a good... Remember Jared, like in the beginning? Well, you were younger then, but it was always just like, is he 11? He's sitting on Kate Moss's lap. Like, what's going on? I remember when we first met, I actually looked it up. Shout out to iCal that you can just type in HAIM. And
I know.
God.
I remember when we first met too.
I don't.
It was that hotel?
May 28th, 2013.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, it was and it was like, do you want to meet HAIM? And I was like, well, yeah, of course. Is there any reason? They're like, no, they're just in London. And I was living in London at the time. And I was like always intimidated by anything that was like brand new and super cool. And I was like, they're like, that's some new shit. Like it always makes me feel like more obsolete. And I didn't really know why we're meeting, but I just went, and I noticed that I had a podiatrist earlier in the day and a shrink. That's when I looked at the day, what was going on. But it was just fun. And we sat down.
So on our side, it was similar, as in like you guys were about to meet.
We're about to meet Mark Ronson. We're like, what? We're like, are you kidding me? The fucking hottest dude on the block. Yeah. We're about to meet Mark Ronson. It was like a while. We met in that like weird hotel lobby.
It was in the lobby of the Marriott in Regent's Park, and I just kind of came in, and you guys were just sitting there, and I think you were probably in the middle of like 17,000 like press things and about to go to a show, but we just...
That was like the first time we could stay at like a really nice hotel, because we got signed in London in the UK first.
Yeah.
No one wanted to sign us in the US.
And from like Hendrix to the White Stripes, whoever, it's a tradition, kind of like the UK does buy it on stuff, cool shit, like early.
Tom Petty, The Strokes, like
Jimi
everyone.
Hendrix.
Every time I would like see a band like that I loved, usually they got signed in the UK first.
Yeah.
And so we went to the UK because Better Off was being played on the radio, and we were like, what? Like, what do you mean it's being played on the radio? Like, we were like freaking out about it. And so we decided, like, maybe we should just go to London. Like, I feel like there's something happening in London. And we stayed at this one hotel.
You know the hotel, the Britannia.
The Britannia.
No, I never. I got to skip. Because it goes Britannia, like Columbia, Key West, and then a nice hotel. But I got to somehow skip Britannia. Maybe because I'm English.
So the Britannia was like, I mean, to us, it was like, oh my God, this is the most amazing hotel of all time. Like, it felt like I was like, wow, this is like proper English hotel. And again, it was kind of like when our parents took us to Midtown in New York. Like, I had no idea there was places other than the Britannia. I was like, I mean, whatever.
Or Regent's Park in general.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's the hotel that we stayed in for the first 6 times we went to London. Like, we would always stay at this one hotel. Like, they like knew us there. We're like, oh, we're back. This is great. Like, you would open up a drawer and it would just fall off. Like, everything would just break. And we were like, this is I love it.
This is touring.
There's one person who's doing everything, like that brings you the sandwiches, fixes the TV, brings the luggage. If you get a massage, it's also that person.
And like they remembered us because there was like this like notorious story
with the drum,
with our kick drum. So we had to bring in a kick drum, and the only door that they had was like a revolving door. There was like another door that was like you had to go through like the whole rigmarole of like getting through this other door that wasn't a revolving door. And we were like, well, we can just fit it in this revolving door. And then we had the fucking bright idea because we were probably drunk. We were like, what if we just put the kick drum in the revolving door and just push it? And we're like, genius. Come on, we could do this. start pushing it, immediately get stuck.
This is like Spinal Tap and Mr. Bean combined. I'm getting the visual.
We're like, oh, fuck, what are we going to do? Then again, of course, the thread of this podcast, I immediately have a panic attack. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to have to get them a new door. We can't find them a door. Like, I can't afford a new door at the Britannia. Like,
because we literally couldn't get it
either
side.
There was like maybe an inch of space before it got locked.
Yes.
And we were freaking out. No one could get into the hotel. I mean, not many people were staying there, but like no one in the hotel. And there was a football match on. And everyone in the bar was like, obviously watching us trying to push this fucking kick drum. And then this like really muscular man like saw like 3 damsels in distress, like trying to get this kick drum into the hotel. And he stuck his hand in that like little space that was open, pulled it, and it came free.
Wow.
And we were like, oh my,
thank you.
We're like, oh my God. And I was like, thank God we don't have to buy the Britannia another door. So we had only stayed there. And then when we met you, that was like the first time we had ever, like, I think the label.
Because the label
paid for it.
Yes.
And so we were in like
wouldn't have been able to afford that.
Exponentially better. We were at the Marriott. And I was like, oh my God, we are stars. We have we have a room at the Marriott.
It was great.
It was great. Still to say, love it. Loved staying there. But that's where we met you. And I remember sitting in the lobby and you came in and we both were like, what are we doing? And I was like, I don't know. We finished our record. And you were like, okay,
why am I here?
Why am I here?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. We just wanted to meet you.
I was thinking about that time for me, and it was like a real low point, sort of like ego-wise, and like what was going on. Like I was after like my record collection, which wasn't like nearly successful as everything, and I'd started to work on Uptown Special. But I remember that time and all the production gigs and stuff was starting to go to like new guys, Emil, Ariel, Paul Epworth. And I was like, oh, cool. I think there's this cool new band. I'm going to go meet with them. And then we sat down. But I was glad that I met you anyway, because you were so sweet. And then you said something that you liked, Somebody to Love Me.
That's what I was just about to bring up. Every time I played, I send you a video of me listening to it. It's like one of my favorite songs of all time.
It's such a good song.
Thanks. So that was from my my down period. So it just whatever. I mean, obviously, you're always going to look back at stuff you've done and be like, you're going to see times where it's not all roses and HAIM for most people.
No, of course not.
Of course not.
But you don't want it to be that way. I feel like throughout our whole career, it's been hills and valleys.
There's a peculiar camaraderie I have with a lot of musicians. It usually starts off because you do the same touring circuit, especially in the summer when you see people at the same festivals a lot and you stay at the same hotels, and maybe you share a musician or a sound engineer. Maybe you lend them a vintage distortion pedal that you still haven't got back. Hi, Danielle. But most of all, you see these people grow. You see their following grow, and you end up rooting for them from the sidelines, especially if they're nice people, because you saw how hard they hustled from the start. That is one of the things that I love so much about HAIM, plus their honesty and their ability to laugh at the journey with all of us. In some ways, 2013 seems like a lifetime ago, and my awkward meeting with them in the lobby of the Marriott Regent's Park was kind of a dud as I remember it. But then each time I'd run into them, I remember a festival in Croatia that they killed, like rocking out with these SGs in these ancient ruins. And every time I saw them after, we would bond a little bit more, talk about music, lol, whatever. And all of that led us to the glorious friendship you hear before you today. Because you guys actually seem like from the outside, it really does. And especially with this last record being such like a critical and commercial triumph and the Grammys. Like, and I haven't really spoken to you since then. First of all, congrats, because the record is so fucking good. And
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
And I listened to it a bit today to like just refamiliarize myself knowing that we're talking. And I actually got like a little lumpy in my throat during a couple of the songs. Like, it was so moved, and the songs are so great, the vocals, the production. So from where I'm at, I know that there's always periods of insecurity in between, and you guys have been quite vocal about that. But it does look like you've had quite a good, whatever it is, it looks like you've done it the right way.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know how it feels from the inside.
Smoke and mirrors.
It is smoke and mirrors.
Definitely smoke and mirrors.
There's always, nothing is ever perfect, obviously. I've loved every moment of it. I feel like especially when you're at like a lower point. I mean, right before we made this record, we were all kind of going through a collective depression of just different things in our lives. I mean, you know about being on the road. I mean, now thinking about going on the road is like my fucking dream. Like, I just want to play music on the road. The second that our first record came out, we were on tour for years. And then we came back into our second record, but we were still touring while making our second record. So it kind of felt like we were never home. And a lot of things personally happened during those years. Tour allows you to like escape your problems, and it allows you to be like, hey, cool, like, I'm not going to deal with this, not today. Like,
sure.
Gonna go on the road and just play this show and then get fucked up afterwards, then go to bed and do it all again. And I feel like when we came back from the Sister, Sister, Sister tour, we all had finally had time to be like, okay, what has happened in the last 10 years? Like, that we never confronted. And it was very much like the second that you like poked the water balloon, it like exploded.
Yeah.
And so we were all kind of in this like weird spiral of like dealing with emotions and feelings for the first time. Like, I mean, as you was doing a lot of things with health and like losing loved ones and Danielle having to be Ariel's rock during his cancer. And I think that's kind of why when we look at this record specifically, when we started this record, we had no idea what we were going to do. It was very much like throwing spaghetti at the wall. And for the first 6 months, I think that we were writing these songs that just like meant nothing. It was like we were like forcing creativity.
Yeah.
They meant absolutely nothing. And like we had to be like, what are we doing? Like, no, like this is not good. Because we're so meticulous and crazy about our records.
For sure.
So we were like, what are we doing? And we talk about it all the time. I mean, having Paul Thomas Anderson as like our muse is the thank you, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem, for bringing me Paul.
Baruch Hashem.
But really, like, Baruch Hashem, happy Passover.
Happy Passover.
I didn't say it yet, but happy Passover. I hope you're eating matzah brai and having a good time. But really what happened was Danielle had this demo of Summer Girl that she had on her phone for months. And then she would like kind of go back to it from time to time. And then Danielle showed it to Rostam. And Rostam was like, wait, this is sick. We should just try this and like see where it goes, see what happens. And I think at that point, we didn't even know if we were making a record. We were like, let's just go into the studio and just like not put pressure on ourselves and see what's going on. And then Ariel joined in. And then so we kind of had this song like a good spot. And I think we had like maybe 5 or 6 songs that were like bare bones, like skeletons. Like we didn't even know if we were going to even use it. Like we were like, fuck it, we might as well just throw all this shit out anyways. Like we didn't know if we were going to use it. And then Paul came to the studio because we fucking love Paul. And like even when we have nothing to show him, he'll be like, just show me something.
He's practically
and we'll be
our
like,
A&R
yeah,
at this
literally
point.
he's our A&R.
Yeah.
And we showed him, I think it was like Sunny Girl at that point.
Yeah.
Maybe we had just changed it to Summer Girl. He was like, wait, what? What is this? And we were like, what do you mean? And he was like, we need to shoot a music video for this. And we were like, we don't even have, I was like, it's not done. We don't even have a record. We don't even know if a record is coming. Like we're in like the very early stages. Like this is not how HAIM works, Paul.
Yeah.
We take 4 years to make a record and like make sure everything is fucking to a T. Like we like have a plan. Like we do not do this. This is not how we work. And he was like, you're going to finish the song. We're going to shoot a music video in the next 48 hours. And we were like, okay.
That's amazing.
Like, okay.
I remember hearing it for the first time. I think you had probably 4 or 5 songs of the EP and you came to the studio. And I can't remember if you had said if you knew you were going to put them out yet, but you were like, hey, this is just like the new shit that we're working on. And I was so excited as soon as I heard it. And I don't know if it was Summer Girl or Sunny Girl because I love that breakbeaty sound of the drums. I love what a departure was. It just felt so fucking cool. And I also love the fact of having like been around you guys on the periphery where when you're making records, how agonizing and painstaking it can be that you felt so loose. Like, we might just put this out. I was just like, yes, like that's great. Yeah. Like there's like, hope for everyone. Like if HAIM can like loosen up and just put some music out, and then it really set the tone. And obviously it was like this Rostam hookup really bore some great fruit as well. So I was psyched.
Summer Girl was like our angel song, like because I feel like every time you finish a body of work, you're like, will I ever be able to do this again? I don't even know if I can make anything else. I don't know if I'll be able to like create out of thin air another album.
Yeah, there's nothing in the tank.
I have no idea what the fuck we're going to do. And literally without Summer Girl and without the way that we were like put under pressure to like, not put under pressure, but like we were like, wait, we've never done this before. We never put out a song just to put out a song. Like we've never just like had a song, made a music video, told our label fucking 40 minutes before we wanted to put it out. Like,
they didn't even know.
That was like the first time that we were like, oh shit, like we have to tell someone that we want to put this out.
We didn't even tell management.
We didn't tell management. Literally, it was like we had this like gift that we were like, not only do we have a song finished, but we also have a music video by Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, okay, well.
I just reimagined that scene when you played me all that new music and it was like a kind of repeat of the Marriott. And I was like, so do you want me to like work on it then? You're like, no, it's done. Thank you. I also think that the whole Paul Thomas Anderson thing, you know, he's obviously, I mean, he's like an Oscar-winning genius, but it's obviously a nice symbiotic relationship. And he shot like all the, not just videos, but all the artwork for the photos and stuff for the last record. And it's like, it's a beautiful sort of patron saint, fairy godfather heaven. It's not like he's doing it out of charity. He loves the music. But I think both of you, between the two of you, have done more to ride for the Valley than any creative force. Like him with Magnolia, Boogie Nights, and then you guys. And there's something so great about championing the Valley because it is an underdog place to come from. And good shit always comes from the underdog places. Like, who's ever from LA, like proper LA, has like done anything good? Know. Except, I guess, hip hop.
I mean, we're in the Valley right now. We're literally coming to you from the Valley right now. Like, I don't know if you could tell of like light, pale yellow sheen that's like over our screen.
It would be impossible to separate you guys in the music and the trajectory from the Valley. Do you think?
It's just who we are. And honestly, like I'm a very spiritual person in the sense that like I feel like the universe kind of forces you to meet people that like will change your life, sometimes in a good way and sometimes in a bad way. And when I think about all the different roads that it took for us to meet Paul, like it really does feel like a universe situation because it felt like we met our puzzle piece. Like we were biggest fan of Paul growing up, obviously. And then meeting him and like having the same points of reference and then being like, you're a fucking genius. And I feel like I'm like a baby person. Like I feel like I'm literally this small compared to how big you are. And you're just like, I'm like your biggest fan. And then just having him in our lives and being able to bounce ideas off of him and work on things together is like the biggest gift. And I honestly like praise the universe. I'm like, it's the only reason why.
I just fucking remembered something too that I actually really owe him.
Really? You do?
Okay, so I was watching Boogie Nights and there's a scene in it early on where he uses Sunny by Boney M and the strings, the don't, ba-na-na, boom, boom. I'm not going to sing it.
Bow, bow, bow.
So I heard that in that thing, and this is like before the era of Shazam by 50 years. So I think I waited to the end of the movie and like wrote all the songs down because I didn't know it and I wanted to sample it. I was like working on my first record and then it wasn't on that. So I had to wait till they put out like the second volume of the Boogie Nights soundtrack. And I sampled it and it was my first single, this song called Ooh Wee with Ghostface and Nate Dogg, that even though it wasn't a hit here, it was like a kind of a hit in England. And that's what led me to being on the map to meet Amy Winehouse and Lily Allen. So without this song and in the movie Boogie Nights, which is like a movie that could only really, without the Valley, there's no Boogie Nights. Anyway, so that's a crazy, I've never told him that, actually. I feel like I owe him.
Tell him.
All roads lead to Paul.
I feel like we all need like a support group of like, who else has Paul Thomas Anderson? I feel like he's changed every single person's life on this planet. Like,
but also the funny thing is, our introduction to Paul was similar to our introduction to you in that when we met him, he was like, oh, like, what can we do together? And we were like, oh, we just finished our our album cycle. So we have nothing to like.
Let's just be friends.
Let's just be friends.
Yeah.
And then for years, we didn't have, between our record 1 and record 2, there was like a good 3 years between. And then I remember laying in my bed at like 2 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I was like very nervous about everything and staring at my ceiling. And for some reason, it was like, maybe I should just email Paul. Just email him. Like, I have his email and ask him if he wants to come to the studio. Mind you, like we'd hung out with Paul like maybe twice. At that point.
Yeah.
Like, over the course of like 4 years.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, Esty, just grab your chutzpah.
Yeah.
Your chutzpah and your tutzpah. And you email Paul Thomas Anderson at 2 a.m.
You fucking do it.
And I did. And then I woke up to an email the next morning. Because I think I had said, like, if you want to come by the studio and hear what we're working on, like, you're more than welcome to.
Yes.
And he was like, yeah, I'll come tomorrow. And I was like,
I know. I was like, do I put makeup on? Like, I was like, know what to do. Like, do we get snacks? Like, I'm fucking like, what the fuck are we doing right now? Like, what do we do? And then he came, and then that's why Valentine
we did
happened.
Valentine.
Yeah.
We were trying to just record some tracks live. And he was like, well, we should do this. He's always like, it's just like,
let's just do it. Let's go.
The thing that like is so aggravating is like, he like literally just is like, we should just do this. And I'm like, why do you make everything sound so simple? And it is so simple. Like,
he just has no fear.
He just like makes shit happen, and it's true. Like, he has no fear, and we trust him. Like, I mean, of course we're going to trust him.
Meanwhile, this is a guy who takes 8 years to make his own films as well. So I'm sure there's like a certain level of that thing in his own thing, but it's nice and it's freeing when you're working on other people's art a little bit because you're just excited by their energy and maybe like a little less precious too.
And not having fear, again, the thread through this whole podcast is literally me just having absolute fear.
There's just a lot of neuroses in this
family.
And so to
have him, can you tell? I don't know. Can you tell? To have someone that's just like, no, just do it. And you're like, oh, okay. It's like...
But to have the safety net of Paul Thomas Anderson.
Are you kidding me? Like,
also,
the luckiest
there's
people on the planet.
definitely something freeing about that as well. This plane.
Sorry, there's like a plane. You hear the valley. We live like right next to the airport.
Near the Burbank airport.
There's planes always.
Thank you for listening to part 1. Stay tuned in the coming weeks for part 2 of my schmooze with HAIM.
Thanks again to Estee and Alana of HAIM for taking the time to talk with us. A special Fader thank you to our Grammy and Oscar award-winning host, Mark Ronson. Please visit thefader.com/podcast to read the original cover story and check out a playlist of artists mentioned in this episode. If you like the show, please share it and review us on your favorite podcast app. Join us next Monday to find out which of your favorite artists will be uncovered next. Executive producers Rob Stone and John Cohen. Directed by Daniel Navetta and produced by The Fader in association with BYT.NYC. Engineered and mixed by David Rogers Berry. Theme music by DJ Premier. For Fader Uncovered merchandise, please visit shop.thefader.com. Thanks, and see you next week.